Oh,
Okay,
no.
now you're live.
Hello, I'm Marvin, Pierce dog teacher, and we're running a couple minutes late because I had to eat my dinner real quick. But tonight, one of our subjects, our main subject, is going to be about dogs and the heat that they put up with. I go back to my wife and I think, was together down at the coast one time, and on the way home, we stopped at a Dairy Queen to get ice cream. It was like 95 degrees, and I remember seeing a gentleman standing outside with his dog, waiting on his wife to bring his ice cream out, I guess, or his cheeseburger, whatever. And his dog was just pacing. And I knew what it was instantly. It's because the ground was probably 110, 120 degrees, 130 degrees, whatever it was, temperature. And for me, the ground's a whole lot worse. It's a lot hotter, the blacktop, the asphalt, especially blacktop, it seems like. And I think the fresher the pavement is, the more the oils are on top of it, even the hotter it is. And me living in the Midwest and down south, I remember seeing the blacktop bubbling from the heat being so hot. And people put these dogs on it, and they don't realize how bad it is on their feet. And for me, I don't know. I tell people all the time, just pull your shoes and socks off and take off, walk across the asphalt, and you'll get an idea of what your dog's put up with. So. And it is that bad. And I mean, they make boots for dogs, all kinds of stuff. I got boots up in my kennels for dogs, so you can get boots for them to help them. But it's just unbearable sometimes for the dogs. And then make sure you keep them watered, good. Don't let them get too hot. But the heat's coming now. I think it's going to be in the mid 90s, the high 90s, the end of the week, the first next week. And just remember to take care of your dogs when it comes to heat. And I know we're only going to do a few minutes tonight because Brett's got things to do. I got things to do, so we're going to get out of here. But we just wanted to touch on the heat with the dogs. And for me, another thing that I want to touch on with people and their dogs, we got a bunch of new videos we're going to hopefully try to get out here in the near future on aggressive dogs and leash pulling. For me, I feel that a lot of times leash pulling will cause the dogs to be angry because you're choking on them, you're pinching on them, whatever you might be doing, but you haven't taught them to give to the pressure. And we have some nice videos right now of some problem dogs that come in here that wanted to fight. And for me, I think, I don't know, they're doing really good here. We got them out with 20, 22 dogs. We got them out with different dogs every day or two, different people coming by. It makes a lot of difference for them, but for me, it comes back to me having confidence and having good dogs to put them out with to get started with. So, Brett, do you got anything to add?
Yeah, Carrie asked, when is it too hot, Marvin? Like, when is it just too hot for your dog, possibly?
I don't know a temperature. I go by the dogs being real pacey on the ground, a good dog that's calm to begin with. But for me, put your hand down. Just put your hand on the ground sometimes, see how hot it is. And just go from there with it. And I mean, even Carrie, somebody's talking today about they were at the beach and let their dog run all weekend. They were down there playing and goofing off and enjoying life. And when they came back and then they got here and their dog was a little bit ouchy on the gravel and stuff. And it's just because they ran so much on the sand. They got their feet all cleaned off, got all the scales off of them. They just don't have no protection kind of on their feet now because of all the sand. It's almost like it took sandpaper to them. So anything like that makes a huge difference. And then the sneaker waves on the beach, since we talked about the beaches, it's the same thing there. I mean, I've heard of it taking the whole horse out, and it's taking people out into the ocean. So you can imagine how easy it'd be to get your dog out there, get away from you. And for me, the bad thing about it, a lot of times, if somebody's dog or horse gets drowned, the people's going to too, because they're going to go try to save them. They're going to get caught up in the same thing. So I wouldn't let my dog swim in the ocean at all. I'll let them run through the edge of the water, but they're not going to get out deep enough they got to swim. If I want to let them swim, like Carrie was talking today, take them to the rivers or the creeks or the ponds or something and let them swim. So it is with that. And like I said, with the heat, it's just unbearable to the dogs sometimes whenever they got to be putting their feet on them and running around. So do we got any more questions?
No, but I thought of one. Like, if you're training with a dog and you notice they need a break, like, obviously, you need to give them a break. Like, if you're seeing signs.
You know me, the signs for me for a dog checking out, a lot of times is a real hyper crazy kind of dog. Sometimes they'll just start laying down. And you can ask a good dog to do something, and they've been doing it for 20 minutes. Like this morning, we was doing a 30-minute lesson in a round pen with a couple. and a really nice lab. I mean, the dog was doing so good. And finally, it just quit. I mean, it didn't want to listen no more. For me, if it's me working these dogs, I always see the signs. I won't always, I shouldn't say always, but I bet 95% of the time I see the signs coming and I quit before they get there. And it's hard, and that's one of my philosophies is I'll teach a dog more in minutes than most people will in hours. And I'll teach a dog more by not speaking than most people will by talking to their dogs. Just because they don't understand any language. It's just repetition over and over and over all the time to get them to learn something. And if you spend minutes for me, and I can see a dog really understanding and getting something and trying hard, then I'll quit. And I'll try to do something fun with them. I'll put them out with the pack, let them play, or play ball with them, or put them up. If it's something hard I've been working on, I'd prefer to put them up and then let them think about it. Or let them lay around. Sometimes in round pen, I'll just sit on that bench I got at or a chair and let them lay around by my feet and relax and think about what I taught them. And we did that with a pet bull today with Tim. He was here working with his dog, and we were sitting out in front of the barn in the shade, and his dog was laying there by his feet, and he was tickled to death. And for him, I asked him what else he really liked to work on. He said, well, he'd love to try to see what his dog would do with a side-by-side because he's wanting to take him riding in side-by-side. I'm like, well, we got one sitting right there. So Tim got in and I got in it, and we loaded up his dog and Sadie, and she jumped in the floorboard and laid there, and we took off riding around on the farm with her. And she had a good time. Didn't bother her. She tried to get out once or twice, and then finally she just settled down and hung out with us. So you got any more questions on there?
Not yet. Anything about hydration? Like anything about hydrating your dog?
Water, for me, always. And I mean, there, you were just talking about a while ago, and my wife was talking about it. Letting everybody and their brother's dogs drink out of the same water hole or water bucket. I don't do it. I think it's bad for passing germs. You can get dogs sick from it. And me, we talk to the vets a lot here because I've dealt with the vets a lot, of course, because I've raised cow dogs and worked them. We've had them busted up for and taken to the vet. And most dogs have Giardia or whatever in their systems. Different things trigger it, and a lot of the kennels, from my understanding, has issues with different things, from dogs getting diarrhea, dogs throwing up, and it comes back from nerves, And the majority of the dogs that come here, they've already got a nervous issue when they get here because mommy and daddy ain't here to sleep with. And it makes it hard on these dogs. I mean, it's really hard on them to try to adapt to being in jail, if you want to call it, or actually in a kennel. They got a nice bed. They got fresh water. They got a big playgrounds. We take them out on to play, the ones that don't jump fences. But they're still not home in bed. And they're not eating cheeseburgers, french fries, and ice creams, and whatever. So it is hard on these dogs. And sometimes you get another dog in the kennel that wants to bark. It upsets dogs. You try to get a dog in a kennel. They don't want to go in the kennel. It upsets them. But the thing is, for me, majority of the time, once a dog is here 2 or 3 days, shoot, you open the kennel door and say kennel, and they go in the kennel because they're starting to learn something, and they're excited about coming out of the kennel. So keeping a dog watered in this kind of weather, like I said, is super, super important. Try to keep the dogs cool enough and not let them run on the blacktop and concrete. Even the gravel gets hot. We got a couple of playgrounds up here, little turnouts for our dogs that are gravel, and I water them down all the time if it's really hot, just to make sure the dogs ain't getting too hot standing on them. So it is different. And now when we go to the playground, instead of 30 minutes, we might be 10 minutes. And the dogs already got their tongues hanging out, and they're ready to go shade up. So we don't have a bunch of shade on the playgrounds because they'd all be laying out there and it wouldn't be exercising at all. So once they've had enough, we take them back to the kennels. So any questions?
Questions there, Marvin?
All right, for anybody who wants to talk to us, I've got a couple people that they keep calling me and texting me, and it's not a very good way to get hold of Darius through me. So if you go to marvinpiercedogteacher.com, you can email us. Marvin Pierce Dog Teacher YouTube, you can watch our videos. Marvin Pierce Dog Teacher's Instagram, ever how you get there. Now we've got Marvin Pierce Dog Teacher TikTok, which we're trying to make Bear famous. We keep putting videos up of him. And you can call Dari at 503-730-0827 and get a hold of her. So if you need us, make sure you use one of those ways to get a hold of us. And we'll be glad to try to work with you and your dog, or at least talk to you about your dog. So we're going to jump off here so Brett can get back to what he's doing, and I'm going to go up and work with a dog or two, and then go play in my wood shop. Thanks a lot, everybody, and have a great evening.